You have eaten food that was invented in Tennessee. I would put money on it. A chicken so hot it started as a punishment and now sits on menus in every major city in America. A snack cake in a lunchbox named after a real little girl whose face is still on the box. The best-selling whiskey on the planet, built on a technique taught by an enslaved man whose name was left off the bottle for 140 years. Tennessee did not keep its food to itself. It sent it out, the chicken, the whiskey, the soda, the candy, and let the rest of the country fall in love without ever once learning where it came from. These are 10 foods invented in Tennessee that changed what America eats. Stick around to number 1, because it is the one that started as an act of pure revenge and turned into a national obsession. Coming in at number 10 is a little green bottle that East Tennessee treats like medicine. Dr. Enuf. It was created in Johnson City, Tennessee in 1949, a lemon lime soda loaded with B vitamins and herbs and sold as a health tonic, something to pick you up when you were dragging. Think about the timing of that. This was a functional energy drink made and bottled in the mountains of East Tennessee, decades before anybody had ever heard the words Red Bull, and it never went national, never got bought up and hauled off somewhere else. It stayed right where it started, and the people who grew up on it will still tell you it fixes a headache, settles a stomach, and cures whatever is ailing you. It does not, of course. But if you handed one to somebody from Johnson City right now, they would crack it open without a second thought, because to them it is not a soda, it is home in a bottle. And at number 9 is the hamburger that the South got before the South had much of anything. Krystal. It opened in Chattanooga, Tennessee in 1932, and read that year back to yourself, because that is the very bottom of the Great Depression. A man opened a spotless little burger stand selling tiny, square steamed hamburgers with grilled onions for a nickel at the exact moment most Americans did not have a nickel to spare. That was the whole idea. Clean, cheap, and a place a family could actually afford to sit down and eat. Krystal became one of the oldest fast food hamburger chains in the entire country, and it did it out of Chattanooga, the South's own answer to White Castle, before most of the South had ever seen a White Castle. If you grew up down here, you already know the specific feeling of a sack of those little square burgers at 2 in the morning. Nobody outside the South understands it. Everybody from inside it does. Coming in at number 8 is a snack cake that is in more American lunchboxes than almost anything else, and it is named after a real child, Little Debbie. The McKee family started the brand in Collegedale, Tennessee in 1960, and when it came time to name it, O.D. McKee used a photograph of his own granddaughter, a little girl named Debbie, in a straw hat. That picture became the logo, and it is still on the box today. Oatmeal cream pies, nutty bars, the Christmas tree cakes that show up every December. All of it comes out of the same small Tennessee town, run by the same family, and named after a granddaughter who grew up to be a real woman, watching her own face sell billions of snack cakes. That is the thing about Tennessee food. It almost always traces back to an actual family, an actual person, an actual name. Little Debbie was not a marketing invention. She was somebody's grandchild. And at number 7 is the can of beans on more American cookout tables than any other, and the recipe behind it is a real secret, guarded by a real family, Bush's Baked Beans. It goes back to the A.J. Bush family in Chestnut Hill, Tennessee, who started canning food back in 1908 and eventually turned a family baked bean recipe into a national staple. You have seen the commercials, the ones where the family dog keeps trying to sell the secret recipe and the family keeps stopping him. Here is what is easy to miss. That is not just an ad gimmick. There really is a closely guarded family recipe, and those beans really are still tied to that same little community in East Tennessee. A family in the Tennessee hills quietly became the reason your cookout tastes the way it does, and they have spent over 100 years making sure nobody ever gets the recipe out of them. Coming in at number 6, we leave the eastern end of the state and go to Memphis, because Tennessee is not one food city, it is two. This is Memphis Dry Rub Barbecue, and the word dry is the whole point. While the rest of the country was drowning ribs in sauce, Memphis coated them in a dry rub of paprika, pepper, and spice, and let the meat and the smoke do the talking. The style was made famous at Charlie Virgos' Rendezvous, a downtown Memphis institution turning out dry rubbed ribs since 1948. And Memphis did not stop at ribs. This is the city that gave you barbecue spaghetti and barbecue nachos, dishes that sound made up until you have had them. But the real story here runs deeper than any one restaurant. Memphis barbecue was built in large part by black pitmasters who created one of the 4 great barbecue traditions in America, and, like so much Southern food, rarely got their names on it. That tradition is the beating heart of the western half of this state, and it earned its spot on this list a long time ago. And at number 5 is a candy bar that quietly changed how every candy bar after it was made. The Goo Goo Cluster. It was created in Nashville in 1912 by Howell Campbell and the Standard Candy Company. Marshmallow, nougat, caramel, and roasted peanuts, all covered in milk chocolate. And here is why it matters far more than most people realize. The Goo Goo Cluster is widely credited as the very first combination candy bar in America, the first one to put several different candies together into a single bar instead of just selling a plain slab of chocolate. Every loaded, stacked, layered candy bar that came after it is walking a path that a candy maker in Nashville cut in 1912. It is still made in Nashville today, more than 100 years later. And most of the people who have eaten one have no idea they were holding the original blueprint for the entire modern candy aisle. Coming in at number 4 is the treat that, paired with an RC Cola, basically counts as a Southern institution. The MoonPie. It was born at the Chattanooga Bakery in 1917, and the origin story is almost too good. The story goes that a traveling salesman was talking to coal miners in Kentucky, asking what kind of snack they wanted, and one of them held his hands up to frame the moon and said he wanted something about that big. The salesman brought the request back to the bakery in Chattanooga, 2 graham cookies with marshmallow in the middle, dipped in chocolate, and they named it the MoonPie. An RC Cola and a MoonPie became a working man's lunch across the entire South, cheap and filling and satisfying. And it all started because one miner told one salesman he wanted a snack as big as the moon. The MoonPie is still made in Chattanooga to this day. And at number 3 is a soda you have absolutely had that is now sold all over the world, and that started life in Tennessee as a homemade mixer for whiskey. Mountain Dew. In the 1940s, 2 brothers named Barney and Allie Hartman, who were bottlers in Knoxville, Tennessee, could not get their hands on the lemon lime soda they liked to mix with their bourbon, so they made their own. That was the entire original purpose of Mountain Dew. A chaser, a mixer, something to cut Tennessee whiskey with. And the name was not an accident either. Mountain Dew was old mountain slang for moonshine, and the first labels showed a barefoot hillbilly with a rifle and a jug, leaning all the way into that moonshine culture. It was trademarked in 1948. Now it is one of the biggest sodas on the planet, and almost nobody drinking a bright green can of it has the faintest idea that it started as a way to make Knoxville bourbon go down easier. Coming in at number 2 is the best-selling American whiskey in the entire world, and the true story behind it is the one that took the better part of a century to get told. Jack Daniel's, out of Lynchburg, Tennessee. Now, Everybody knows the name Jack Daniel. Here's the name most people were never given. Nathan Green, known as Nearest Green, was a man born into slavery who after emancipation became the first master distiller at the Jack Daniel distillery and the first known African-American master distiller in the entire United States. It was Nearest Green who taught a young Jack Daniel the technique of filtering the whiskey through sugar maple charcoal, the step known today as the Lincoln County process. The thing that legally makes Tennessee whiskey, that process is the soul of the most famous whiskey on earth, and it came from a black Tennessean whose name only started appearing in the story in recent years. So when you tell this one, you tell it straight and you give the man his due. Because the whiskey the whole world drinks is standing on Nearest Green's shoulders. And that number one is a dish that started as an act of revenge and became a national obsession: Nashville hot chicken. The man at the center of it is Thornton Prince, and the legend goes like this. Prince was, by all accounts, a man who liked the company of women, and one morning a girlfriend of his had finally had enough of his running around. So she cooked him a breakfast of fried chicken and, out of pure spite, loaded it with as much hot pepper as she could, meaning to punish him. It did not work. Prince took one bite of that fiery cayenne-soaked chicken and loved it. He worked out his own recipe, and he and his family opened a shack in Nashville to sell it. Today, that legacy lives on at Prince's Hot Chicken, carried forward for decades by his great niece, Andre Prince Jeffries. And here is the payoff. That chicken, fried, brushed with a blazing cayenne and lard paste, laid on white bread with pickles, went from one black-owned shack in Nashville to menus in every major city in America, to national fast food chains, to a flavor people order without any idea what they are saying. Most people asking for Nashville hot have never heard the name Thornton Prince and have no idea it was born from a woman's revenge and kept alive by one family for generations. It is the loudest food this state ever made, and Nashville still does it best. A soda that was really medicine, a whiskey built on a name that got left off the bottle, a candy bar that rewrote the candy aisle, and a chicken that started as a punishment. None of these are small stories. They are just stories the rest of the country ate without ever asking where they came from. If you grew up in Tennessee, you have been carrying this your whole life. And if you are watching this far from home right now, somewhere without a Krystal sack or a MoonPie in the gas station, then you already know the specific ache of missing a place through its food. So which one of these surprised you the most? And go ahead, settle Memphis versus Nashville in the comments, because I know you want to. And some of you are already asking about Georgia. Good. Because a drink invented in one Georgia pharmacy went on to become the single most famous product on earth, and that is the next video. If you like your history with a little heat on it, subscribe and put some South in your mouth.